Hi everyone, welcome back to the Atheist Viewpoint. I'm Ellen Johnson. I'm the president of American Atheists. And of course on my left is your left, my right, is my trusty co-host, Dennis Horvitz, and our guest back with us again today. It's always a pleasure to have Lenny Brenner with us, the author of 6 books. One of them here, he brought with him is Jefferson and Madison on the separation of church and state. He wrote he edited 51 documents, Zionist collaboration with the Nazis. He wrote The Lesser Evil, a study of the Democratic Party. He wrote Jews in America Today. He wrote The Iron Wall, Zionist revisionism from Jabotinsky to Shamir. And he wrote Zionism in the Age of Dictators. Thanks again, Lenny, for bringing your wisdom to our show. You want to talk, it's amazing, folks, that we still have electricity. The thunder, you can probably hear it. We've been listening to it as we tape, and there have been some hints that maybe it's the handiwork of...
It's about to go. I tell it like it is. Let's be
it's
honest.
hovering right above us,
Right.
and it's fierce. In any case, we're going to keep going while we have power.
Yeah.
Lenny wants to talk about 2 books and an article from the New York Times that has him totally riled.
Okay.
Go with it, Lenny.
I want to correct you. I did not write Jefferson and Madison.
You edited it.
I edited it.
Yeah,
There you
because
are.
I-
Yeah, right. I mean,
Oh, you
But you knew them
edited
both
51
personally,
yeah,
documents.
oh, hey, man, we were partying.
Homies.
No,
Like your
that's
homeboys.
right. You did
Homeboys,
edit that
right.
one, too.
Right.
Okay.
I want to talk briefly about 2 books. One of them is called The Mighty and the Almighty by Madeleine Albright.
Incidentally, if you get the chance, pick up her autobiography. It's fantastic reading.
Okay.
She's a fantastic woman, so I can't wait to read
Mighty
that.
and the Almighty by Madeleine Albright. It's got an introduction by President Bill Clinton. All right? And that's the first book. And the second one is Michael Lerner, The Left Hand of God, Taking Back Our Country from the Religious Right. Okay. Now, she's obviously a little more important, being a former Secretary of State, the first woman Secretary of State, and all that kind of good stuff. All right. Basically speaking, what it is it's a book written long since she's been out of office, you know, when she was Clinton's Secretary of State, etc. So it's a post 9/11 book, and basically what she's saying is she can get along, we can get along with the Muslims can get along with us, and, you know, let's start all over again and try and be nice. You know, that's basically summarizing the whole thingy, all right? I mean...
To use the technical term.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, she's got every platitude ever written about religion, about separation of church and state, on and on and on and on. And she admits that most of the stuff that she's reading comes since 9/11. In other words, this was not what she was doing. She was not about getting along, going along when she was Secretary of State. And in fact, when you're talking about her biography, she gives a little biography in here. And what she talks about is she came here, she's from Czechoslovakia, and she had some bad experiences there with communism and so on and so forth. And then she came here, and she started working for Zbigniew Brzezinski, okay, apparently at Columbia. And then when Brzezinski became the national security advisor for Jimmy Carter, she came along with Brzezinski, all right? Now, what makes this ominous, and that's the only word that covers the thing, is that Brzezinski was the guy who got Jimmy Carter in 1979 to back the Islamic fundamentalists, give them weapons in Afghanistan
Against the...
Against the
against the
Soviets.
godless, atheistic Soviet communists. Right? And he is also the guy, Jimmy Carter. Remember, she's working for him under Brzezinski, but she's working for Jimmy Carter. He's the guy that supported the Shah of Iran down to the very last second, and then brought him here to the United States. You know, now you got to understand. I'm noted now for my interest in Zionism, my specialty in Zionism, but I actually got interested in the Middle East through Iran first. Okay, I was out in Berkeley in the early 60s, and I ran into all kinds of Iranian Marxists and atheists and so on and so forth. And I was involved in demonstrations against the Shah, etc., up to the day he fell and beyond, you know, and so on and so forth. The Shah ran a systematic torture regime. If you got in jail for any political crime, didn't matter, right wing, left wing, middle wing, didn't matter, you got tortured. I we got one guy out of prison, a professor, Reza Bahraini, who was whacked on the soles of his feet 75 times for God knows what he did. You know, I mean, one of those kind of, crimes. Et cetera,
And God's
et cetera.
not telling, obviously. So.
Well, all right. But what I'm getting at is that this woman who was right in the cockpit while the United States was arming and supporting this torture doesn't even criticize either herself or Brzezinski or Carter for either supporting the Shah, which is now, as a, the blowback from supporting the Shah
Right.
was, of course, that he got overthrown by the Shiite fundamentalists, Khomeini, etc. Khomeini's ability to the Khomeini regime, I mean, he's dead now, but the regime's ability to still have support in the country is because they fought against the Shah and the Americans, and it was entirely justified in fighting the torturous regime, all right? She has no criticism of that, and not a word of criticism of herself or Brzezinski.
What would you have wanted them to do about the Shah?
Not support him. The United States, understand what happened was, in the early 50s, a nationalist named Mohammad Mossadegh took over Iran and nationalized the British Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, all right? The CIA, America was now beginning to take over from Britain in the imperial interests in the Middle East. The CIA, organized the overthrow of Mossadegh and bringing the Shah back onto the throne, and they kicked Anglo-Iranian oil out, and the Americans moved in the oil. I mean, on the T-shirt. In other words, this isn't something that happened in secret. Okay, that's when America took over the oil industry in Iran. All right, so that's why they did it. Okay, now in the support of the fundamentalists in Afghanistan, this was a consistent long-term part of a consistent long-term American policy of using religion against godless, atheistic communism. All right. Now, as it happens in Afghanistan, I mean, everybody seems to agree on certain facts, and others they disagree, but certain facts are in agreement. What happened was the army overthrew the king of Afghanistan, and then the communists who were allies of the army overthrew the army. And then the communists started fighting each other, et cetera, and it was getting out of hand. So the Soviet Union came in on one side of the inter-communist fight for the more moderate element, because they were worried that the crazies were just antagonizing the Muslims, and then the Soviet Union would wind up with a Muslim fundamentalist state on its borders. So it didn't want that. So it came in, all right, and said, hey, stop persecuting the Muslims, et cetera, but keep the rights. Like, for example, the pro-Soviet government from 79 till it was overthrown about 89, I mean, don't hold me to the exact date, it doesn't matter. Women had rights, okay? Everybody understands that now, right? The Americans went in and backed the fundamentalists against the communists. Now, the Americans were not there to take away rights from women. That wasn't on their mind at all. What they wanted, though, was a commie bashing.
Yeah.
Okay?